Hi everyone. So today I'm going to be presenting on this film called Get Out, which was made in 2017, directed by Jordan Peele. The film follows a young black man named Chris who is visiting his white girlfriend named Rose's family for the weekend. What begins to be an uncomfortable setting and meeting with others slowly turns into a terrifying discovery. The family has been taking black people to do transplants with the white people's consciousness into the black people's bodies. My thesis in Get Out uses horror understanding to expose the hidden dangers of liberal racism. Pill shows that racism doesn't only exist by what we know, which is known hatred in today, but it can also be hidden beneath certain things like attitudes of people, politeness, compliments, anything like that. Those can be hidden things. The film's horror comes from the false sense of tolerance, which is covering up a system exploitation and control. Then I also looked at two scholars. Two scholars help highlight this idea for me. Alexandra Hook argues that Get Out belongs to what she calls a critical race horror, where racism itself is the monster. She explains that the sunken place represents the black immobility, how society silences and restricts and controls black bodies, similar to what Michelle Alexander calls the new Jim Crow. Gillian Boger focuses on how Pill twists the familiar horror films like Hypnosis, Body Theft, even The Final Girl role to criticize white liberalism. She points out how characters keep claiming they're colorblind, like saying, I would have voted for Obama a third time. That line is the perfect example of how Armitage friendliness hides a deeper racial obsession. So now let's go to the first scene that I have picked, which is the garden scene. So as we can see in this scene, the garden party takes place early in the film. Chris is surrounded by all the white guests who think they're being complimentary, as we talked about earlier, where they are using the hidden complimentary, which is still kind of racist. But everything they say is a microaggressive. They comment on his body, his skin, even his genetics. Hill uses close ups and awkward silences to show how dehumanizing this whole thing is when he's meeting. It matches Boger's point that liberal racism is disguised as a fascination as well. Now let's go to scene two, where The Sunken Place was filmed in the movie. So right at this part, the clip is showing hypnosis with Missy. This is where Chris gets sent into the sunken place. As he floats in that darkness, unable to move or even speak, Peel visually shows us that Hawk calls black immobility, not being able to move or anything, is a metaphor for being silenced within the system of racism. You're awakened, you're aware, but you have no control over anything in anyone. So next, our last scene that I found would be the final act, the surgery reveal. So at this part, the last scene is the near end when the Armitages reveal their plan to transplant white consciousness into the black people's bodies. It's a literal form of appropriation. White people taking over black bodies because they believe that they are superior or more than anyone else. The horror here symbolizes a long history of exploitation and unequality. And even the flashing police lights at the end remind us of a real world fear of racialized police violence as well. So, to conclude the whole movie, Get Out, it redefines horror by making everyday racism the real monster. Peele shows that racism isn't disappearing, it's just becoming more polite. The film forces us to see and confront the truth that even in progressive places, racial inequality is still very seen and present. And that's what makes the film so powerful and interesting.